Oh, there we go. Good morning, guys. I've got the hiccups this morning, so you'll have to bear with me. So it is the 4th of October, Monday morning. I'm going from last week. Let's just have a spy on where we are. And I'm starting a little bit late this morning. We're 2 minutes into the session already, and I've not been able to analyze anything. Bit of a late start getting the kids out of school. So we're on to, that's the 5-minute scalp, excuse me, week 4. So again, 4th. So we didn't get any trades on the 1st, on the Friday. The Thursday, I do believe we got a -2 because we risked 2% on the trade. We got 2% back. You'll have to ignore that bit there because that will be out. These hiccups. We're on 23.84% still. All good. We're into the final week of our testing of this 1 minute scalp, and 23.84% is fantastic. Right, so going on the basis towards the end of last week, we had some demand areas, we had some supply areas on the top end, and then higher up on the previous area, you can see we are starting to meet, and I will delve deeper into this very shortly. We are starting to meet higher end, higher side. So with that in mind, again, going on the path and seeing intermediary price, we are starting to get this sort of shift. Didn't quite meet, came up, came down, broke it a bit there, came down, up, and now we'll come back in. So with that in mind, this is where we are now with price, and this is on the 1 minute. So as we've got the path on the bigger, wider, higher time frame overlaid onto the lower time frame, we could possibly anticipate a move into this pull back here at 50%, and then going up to meet this higher side here, because now there's a shift in momentum when you look. So I'm looking heading towards here, and this is just gonna be a running joke on my YouTube video, I can see, with the hiccups. So as you can see on here, as we had the downshift on here, we're now change of hands, and we're now starting in the upside. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll drill a little bit deeper. Let's drill deeper. Get our goalposts set up. So we're looking at 8:30. Start 8:30 AM. And you know the crack. Finish 10:30 AM. So that's what we're working between. So I'm anticipating at least, excuse me, a move into these areas here. I'm going to get rid of that noise. This pullback, take a look, that's higher. So that area there, excuse me, there's 50%. I'm expecting at least a pullback into that, the 50%, for it to then take off, excuse me, for them to take off to the top side. Again, swing points, we've got a high at the moment. We've got our low. Excuse me again. And I'm going to mark out this high or low, this low high, sorry. And I'll keep that marked, just a slight touch there. So I'm going to let price do what it needs to do for the first few minutes of today. I'm not going to jump straight into a trade. We've got our higher time frame sort of parameter, the best we can sort of draw, where we've just zoomed out of price. However, if you watch this, I did this on the video the other day, just to showcase this to you. If we go up higher time frames, you see the intermediary prices will sort of constrict into one candle. If we go up to 15-minute, it'll go tighter. Okay, you see how it's constricting into the area. Going to the 30-minute. Again, I just want to change this to black. It might be better. Okay, 30 minutes, 1 hour. And there you have it. It's more or less into a couple of candles. So you've got your high. You've got your lows here. You've got to pull back up, wiki, pull down, pull up, pull down, pull up, pull down. This here, this pullback here, even though it's just an impulse all the way down, engulfing out of this range, we're coming in pretty much to test this area. Normally when you get a driven move out of an upside or a downside, and it just sell in this case, we would have an order block hidden up within this area. Okay, hidden up within this area here, with regards to a point of entry. So we go down to the half hour, you can see it moves into a couple of candles, and there's the last up before the down on the half hour. So there you are there. Look where it's come to mitigate, more or less bang on 50% of that area, to be fair, and then it's on its move down. So this now could be coming down to either hit this liquidity area, which it's already done. You can just see on the half year start from the entry of this, or it may come down to start taking liquidity down on that one, because if we go down to 15 minutes, we've got like a spinning top doji or dragonfly, whatever you want, a shooting star, whatever you want to call them. I'm not too familiar with all the names that we have on these. From there, it could come down to take liquidity down on this side here, which is where I'm more or less expecting it to come to. However, we'll just get rid of that because that's off the other day. Let's get rid of that. We are working this on the 1 minute. We're just sort of seeing where higher time frame is at the moment from a bias. 5 minutes, you can see we're certainly starting to move back up towards it. So we're caught within a range. So as this is moving up on a higher time frame, okay, you got the impulse on a bit of an uptrend. As that's going up, if this gets stuck in this area, we are in what we would call a distribution phase, because the trends went up and then it's created a bit of a pullback. It's stuck within the range on the top side. That's our distribution, okay? Or maybe accumulation. Let's have a look. Let's get this wording correct for you. Forex distribution phase. My handsome face out the way. Yeah, so accumulation's on your bottom, distribution is on your top, okay? Just to clarify that for you. And that's where we are at the moment. So I'm going to pause the video. I've got me kickoff cup of tea in the trusty old Forex fire mug. I'm going to let the markets, because the markets are just finding their feet. I'm going to see where price heads with us. We go down to 1 minute because that's where we're starting from. We'll just obviously ignore this. We are expecting either coming down on these downsides if we get a push out of one of these zones, I'm going to start looking at possibly an entry of some sort. But as it is early, we are just letting them find their feet. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll be back in a moment or two, guys. Okay. Make myself a little bit bigger there, guys. So I've just been looking at the chart, to be fair, at the minute. Let's have a look. Let's get rid of that. So looking at the chart, okay, we've got liquidity up on the high side here, and we're within a range. You can see as we've come out, we're starting to do a little bit of an uptrend. As we've come out in this bit of uptrend, you can see obviously we've got a low, a high, higher low, higher high, because it has met above that, a higher low, higher high, higher low. We're now stuck within a range. Okay, you can see we didn't beat the higher high. We've come down to create liquidity. Now we're coming up to create more liquidity. So this is where I'm saying we are in what we call a distribution phase. However, we're waiting for a breakout to the downside, which if we do get the breakdown from here, we could be anticipating this orange here, okay, 50% of this range to bounce off this, to then possibly then move up to the higher side, meeting the order block of the 50% of this, to then possibly pushing down again before then taking off and rocketing off to the higher up end, which again will sort of meet certain criterias. Let's just take a look. Just want to sort of zoom into this sort of stuff. So I've got this here. Let's have a look. Got a lot of notifications on a day-to-day basis. I do apologize. So again, pull down, pull up. It's broke out of here. It's mitigated 50%. See this here? If I was to do that there, okay, we've pulled out of that pullback range. You've come back in 50%. Okay, bring this down to the next swing bit. Again, you can see we've mitigated 50%. There's a lot of these is 50%, 50%, 50%. So this is going to be for something else for another video. Cancel that off. So we've got that swing with that swing bit. Again, when you look at that there, okay, down, pull back. Look at this, guys. It's swung out, it's come in 50%. Again, down, this pullback. Just here wicked out, yes, wicked out. We might get a pull back into this area. So if I just do the horizontal rear, that's roughly 50%. It's just for the mind's eye, just for a target area to the upside, to be fair. Let's take a look. So if we get this distribution area fulfilled, okay, we might get a bounce down to a bounce up from 50% of this pullback. Again, 50% of this pullback, take out the liquidity, okay, drive up to the area of the high side here. So if we come down to mitigate into this, we could set a buy, okay. However, it may very well just sort of crush straight out of, it may very well just crush straight out and sort of hit these high sides, whether it's that there before pulling down into here, or it may very well just crush straight out to here to then come down to then possibly come back up to meet that high side. We just don't know yet. We're waiting for price to show its hand within this area at the moment. It's just a waiting game. But again, because we're in a distribution phase or a range within a range, we are waiting for a breakout of this distribution area, which it looks as if we're more or less getting. You see on the green line, it's getting that touch. We're waiting for the breakouts to see what sort of supply or demand area this is going to head to. Again, trading is not about jumping straight in with 2 feet. You've got to anticipate price action, and you've got to anticipate areas of importance, point of interest, and things like that. Monday, for me, Monday can be a bit tedious, in all fairness, but again, Monday can be fantastic on the brain because you are attuning yourself to how market is moving on Monday at first. Again, Tuesday, we normally call everyone like a turnaround Tuesday because those markets are finding their feet on the Monday. We then know where the footprints have been left on the Monday. We can then have our supply, have our demand areas, and anticipate those moves going to be hit. And as you can see, look at the push on that, guys, straight into the upper supply area. So now we've got our maneuver. We could very well be going either respecting the 50% of that order block, which is what's just happened there. We'll get a push back down, or it might get a second wind and hit towards this line up here. Okay, so at the moment it's respecting the order block up here. We're just going to see if it gives us an extra push or an extra drive. It's got 6 seconds. Just see on here, 3, 2, 1. New candle going to form right about now, and it's going to go. It's going to get that second wind. By the look of it, will it push out of that order block? And I like doing these videos because, like I say, it's not always about getting in on the trade. We're healthily in profit. There's no point in risking what we're doing. We can, from here, we can sort of enjoy and analyze what the markets are showing us. And if there's anything definitive with regards to where price is heading, we can use that as a footprint. So it looks as if it's going to go to the higher side first. We'll just get rid of these. We've anticipated the buys to the higher side first. And again, it's going to get wiki this. Let's just drive further into price action where we are at the moment. And we can see, going from a deeper analysis, we've got we've got an imbalance area right there. Okay, so we could come back down to mitigate on this. We've also got from the wick there to that there. This there, that's an imbalance area. And if you're not sure what imbalance is, again, or just to give this a bit of a plug, I have a fantastic resource and plethora of videos within the Discord channel. And there we divulge into deeper analysis and things like that, and modules. And I have homework sections, so you can get involved with that, so you can learn that a little bit more. If you want to get involved with this and get access to all areas, just below where the banner is on this video, you'll see join. Click on join and select either the Spark or the Fire member and get access to that right now. So at the moment, we are anticipating this. This is on the 1 minute chart. We've had a breakout. Let's just take a look. So from the swing, I'm just going to draw this out here. So that's the last down before the up on the breaker structure. From there, you have had a breaker structure. Okay. And if I just do that right, John, how we get it right? Purple. This one here. See, see, the reason why this would be putting me off is simply imbalance underneath here. So let's say, for instance, this is where you have to be careful. Let's say, obviously, prices came up, we're coming back in, meet the imbalance of this 50%, push back out to hit the order block up here, push back down to come back into field of play of the price range here of the distribution. Okay, it may very well come back up, retest it, but then as it enters, there's a very good high possibility price is then going to come down to hit the imbalance of this area, which for me has a question mark. Good, there's a good chance of entry on here. However, this is leaving not too much the imagination, I should say. And then from there, you've got, in fact, no, it wouldn't be. Just ignore me on that. I'm looking at that wrong. I'm looking at that bit wrong. It's going to push towards this higher side. And let's go up to the half hour a minute. So it looks like we've got imbalance. 15 minutes. We had imbalance on the 15 minutes here, drawn out a while ago. Again, I did have a bias. So why? This is why I keep my charts marked up. I had a bias to crash through that a while ago. It looks as if I just pull that out, because that might be a target. That could very well be a target. It looks as if that might crash and give us an area up there. Again, coming down, pull back, and then we've crashed out of this here. So the imbalance, you see this imbalance on the one where we've got the 1 minute. Have you seen what it's forming out on here? Order block within that. So you could get a return down into this. So for me at the moment, that little bit of a trade that I drew out, I would just take that out, simply because looking at the bigger picture, this is forming beautifully within this bit here, beautifully. So we may get a pullback into this area at some stage and then crash up towards 50% of that. So with that in mind, I mean, long shot, possibly say, right, well, we could be looking at that with that as the area. Okay, and a 6.35 again, the fibs. There's your 50% there. But if you wanted to go a little bit more crazy with your fibs, you've got your fire zones. There's your fire zones, 50% there. You could go to any one of these levels within that area. We go back down to the 1 minute. So I'm going to use the entry at the moment as the 50%, okay, the 50% of this imbalance, because when we went up to, was it the 15 minutes? The 15 minute, it was the order block of the 15 minutes. So we go back down to the 1 minute. Again, it's the imbalance area. I'm going to use the imbalance as a target. Let's see what happens. Let this play out. And I'll tell you what we're going to do today, guys, because we're in the 4th week. I'm going to risk a 2%. Okay. We will risk 2%. And again, if we go down to here, I'm going to have it to just below. I'm going to have it on a 4.8. This may be the only trade I take for today. I'm going to risk a 2%. It's going to be worth the risk, in my opinion. We are in the 4th week. We're on 23.84% for the month. Let's see if we can smash this up to the 30. It's going to be run about just under 33% if we get this in. So we're going to anticipate the move on here based upon the higher time frame structure. The imbalance is in. It's perfectly, as you can see, coming into conjunction with the order block on the 15 minute. We've got the pull back into here. We've had the push out. Again, going on the range. Going on the range. Look at this, guys. Can't make it up. Firebox. Look at the firebox or the fire zone. Bang. Don't make it up, guys. Look at where that confluence. Let's go back. It's just stacking up the probabilities. Hopefully, this isn't just going to push straight up and out. I'm hoping this structure here is going to hold. If it holds, then we might get the drawback down to the order block. But not only the order block, when you go down to the 1 minute, this shows beautifully that it is the imbalance. The imbalance has the fire zone within that. So again, guys, we should hopefully start getting the flag pattern. There is things we can do where we can take partials on the way up, like this structure point here, or this structure point here. However, today, 2% risk going on this one trade. There's a lot of thumbs up on this one for me. Again, if it loses, it's only a 2% out. It's a good end to a week, but it's broke the structure where we're on the field of play at the moment. We've got imbalance on the high side. It's coming in to mitigate into the 50% beautifully on the drawdown, what we've got here. And then we might get the push back up to the order block on here to then push back down underneath the previous breaker structure to retest that area, because these order blocks, when you get a push out, you can still get a pull back into the field of vision or the field of play, and then to retest and bounce back off them. It's an order block breaker, they're called, and then it may come back down to mitigate into that 50% before doing its true move, which will be the push to the upside. So I'm going to pause the video, guys, and hopefully you're getting some more insights, bits of knowledge. Again, I'm not perfect. I don't always get it right, but I do have a general understanding of structure, something I've learned over the 4 years of my trading. But again, me doing these videos, doing them live, doing them in front of you and recording what I do, not only helps you understand structure and break things down and take notes. I always watch back what I've done in a session, and I come back and I take notes and I look at and reanalyze what I've done during that session. And then I look at the stuff of what I've done and see how it's played, and it helps me as well. So again, I love what I do on a day-to-day basis. Again, let's see where this plays out. See if we get the confluences hit, and we'll come back in the next, say, 5 or 10 minutes. It is now, what, we are only 15 minutes or 45 minutes into this session, I should say. Could be worth time for another cup of tea, I think. I'll see you in a bit. Hi guys, so I've got the fire wand out. I'm glad their makeups have gone away from the beginning of the video. So yeah, as we can see, we had a breaker structure up on here. Okay, we've got an imbalanced area between the 1 minute zone. Okay, we had the breaker, we've come back in, we've mitigated beautifully within that imbalanced area. Okay, so we've got a range now between here and here. If we were to get a break out of this here with this structure, so if the structure came out to break above here, I would possibly try and enter a trade on here. Okay, based upon the pullback and then the pull up to whatever was on here. I'm still going to leave this one open as a bigger trade because there was so many things within this here for the parameter of the 15-minute order block. Drill it down to the 1 minute. That order block on the 15-minute becomes an imbalance on the 1 minute. Again, the fire zones on the swing point, it hits beautifully on one of the fire zones. So we're going to keep an open mind with this at the moment and then just see if it sort of hits on here. Again, we were going to be looking to hit on an entry here, but there's too much going down underneath here on the downside, if that makes sense. Too many things where price can come down and hit. What I mean by that is price will move and the bankers will move price to where it's going to hurt people the most. So even though this is a nice order block area, we could respect it. I do believe price eventually may drive down, push through the imbalance on here, but also break through the order blocks on here, but crash through and hit this here. Okay. Again, we do have liquidity to worry about underneath the imbalance, so we mustn't forget, again, price overall still has liquidity here, so we've given ourselves a bit of a cushion if price was to take out liquidity. Okay, so the reason why I've given this a bit more of a cushion is so if price does come down and break us through these liquidity areas here, we've got the 50% of this initial pullback on here on the 5 minute or the 15 minute, I think it was. So we've gone just below that. And again, if we speak about the fire zones, so from there to there, the magnet or the firebox on the lower side, the inner magnets can be more powerful, if that makes sense, where we're going to get a respect and a touch. But I'm hoping we could pull this down to the inner side, but I'm going to risk it for a biscuit as this here, and then just hopefully it's just going to touch the outer inner, if that makes sense, because you've got two inner ones, but the outer inner is on the top side. We'll see if it holds structure. So it's a bit like a deep dive analysis on what I'm looking at structure wise. Again, 1 minute, and I'll say this on every session I do, we don't rush into a trade. You've got to be able to put the building blocks together, understand your structure, okay? Because from a structure point, let's get some things wrote out. Okay, you've got your low, okay, you've got your high. As you come in on structure and just higher, bloody thing. You've got obviously your high, your low, and just practice while your charts are drawn out. Have fun, practice these things. Okay, again, high or low. Again, we've got that's liquidity being held there. You've then gone up to create a higher high. Okay, at the moment, structure wise, this holds. You've got a higher low, and we are stuck between the price range of these two here at the moment. It doesn't know which way it wants to go. We'll see if it's going to break structure. If we see that this is going to break this here, this may bring us down into the entry area. Again, if this holds structure, the higher low and the higher high, we might get a push to the outer side coming up here, where we would then create the higher high. If we do get that continuation up, okay, which is we're not 100% certain yet, we just got to wait on price showing its hand. We then have a breakout. If this becomes then a break of structure, we would then be looking to possibly entering upon this order block here, which again would be the entry but it's sort of mitigated there already. When you look at it, you see how it's come up. We'll come back out to touching and mitigating into that. However, structure-wise, there's a 50% area of that imbalance has not been met yet, which again, we just need to closely keep an eye on. We just need to closely keep an eye on, see if this comes down. If this comes down and crashes through the 50% of the imbalance, we then may push down to take out this higher low to then continue to the downside to meet the requirements of what I initially think of this area here. I'm hoping that this holds structure. The more this holds structure, the more confidence I've got that we might come down to mitigate into the lower areas of our chart at the moment. I hope this is all making sense. As always, please comment. Let me know how you're feeling with regards to this setup at the moment. Let me know if what I'm doing is providing value. Are you enjoying the content? Are you sort of working along the parameters, setting yourself a 2-hour time frame? How's it working for you? Are you finding doing this and drawing out structure points as you go along? Is it helping you identify things? I know from my aspect, I'm a visual person. I used to just look at a chart and just go, yes, 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 yes. And the amount of times that I used to get stopped out, the amount of times that things went the other way, and I didn't understand what was going on. It wasn't until I started doing this and highlighting everything. Every significant point, excuse me, every significant point I would highlight. So then when price was moving back down towards those directions like this, I knew instantly this is why we're going to head towards there. It's either going to come and take this out, or it's going to come in respect. We can set ourselves a limit orders and stop orders if there's going to be a continuation and trend, which is why it's very, very important to draw these things out. You'll be able to tell whether there's going to be a continuation and trend. You'll be able to tell whether there's going to be a break in the trend. Again, you can highlight where you've got like the possibility of these next high points, your imbalance areas, your pullbacks, your zones, your range. It's very, very important to do these things. Okay, guys. So again, always take notes. And again, if you're enjoying these things, just let me know. Comment where you're from, how you found me. Are you involved with this yet? If not, why not? Click on the join, get yourself as a Spark or a Fire member. We'll get you even more access to what we have there. So because we're caught in the range at the moment of this higher high, higher low, I'm going to go and get myself my halftime cup of tea, and we'll come back. We'll see where price is and what it's doing. Is it behaving, or is it going to be a continuation in trend, or in fact, are we going to get the break to come down to get the retest of our imbalance area? So again, let's just take a look on this. You've got the date range, basically from the high to the low. We've got around about half an hour's worth of non-movement, to be fair. Again, a distribution area. There's only about 5 pips in that. I'm going to go make myself my cup of tea, pause the video. I'll be back in a moment. Hopefully by the time I come back up, we either had a break of structure on the high side. If we have, I'll possibly look at an entry on here. But again, overall picture, I'm looking at this here. So enjoying this morning, to be fair, enjoying this morning. So just stop the share and we'll pause the recording. Hi guys, would you believe it? Just the minute I go down for my cup of tea, we'll get a movement in price. Remember, we're risking 2% on this one this morning. Got myself my Kit Kat and my half-time cup of tea. That's hot. Let's move this out. Again, are we going to come down to meet the price? And the levels I had set sort of nicely come into play. let's just move that. See if we get our entry. Again, we've got a bit of a cushion. This causes a little bit for concern. Hopefully we'll get the entry down and get the touch and move to the higher side. If we get the entry, in all honesty, I might manage this trade, and instead of a 4.8, I might look at risking 2% to gain more or less 5% from that, to be fair. We'll see how we go. Say we come down to get the entry. Pushing down again. Again, as we've come down, we've come below the break structure here, so we might get a bounce back up to retest that and then get a drive down before we get the move up, or we might just come crashing straight down. Again, seeing what's on the lower side. Just on the off chance, let's just take a look. There's nothing really that screams out, apart from there's a price range on here, to be fair. Again, this is the only thing that's causing me a little bit of concern. We've got liquidity here, you see, even though this is a low, got a lot of liquidity built up here. And again, let's just get back. You can see, look at this, guys. I mentioned this earlier on this morning, said this could be a good area where it could bounce from. 50%, again, can't make it up. Let's just get that highlighted with our yellow. Again, 50%'s been mitigated from that. Are we going to get the price action that I thought and anticipated, where we might come crashing through that? Because the next point of importance, the next point of interest, the POI, is certainly the imbalance. There's a lot of imbalance on here. It looks as if the reaction at the moment for now is happening on that order block of the 1 minute on that area. If this was to shoot up and take the higher high from here, then this most certainly is going to be an area for later on in the day, possibly. There's the slight, you see what I mean? I mentioned we would possibly get, I said we would possibly get the come down and retest of the breaker structure, which we've just beautifully getting there, which we've just predicted very, very well. Maybe the next drive down is going to be that of past this here. Just want to have a quick look on something. Are we going to get the drive down into there for a possible? There is a possible harmonic there, but again, if you were to stretch this out, it could quite easily come down to the liquidity area before the drive up. Again, we might get another push up into here for the 50% of the pattern. We've crashed through that, so we can get rid of that. This is why I'm very visual. I love to be visual. I like to highlight my areas so I can see why we're coming to mitigate from things. And again, the more you do things like this, the more you're going to be able to see when these things hit. You get yourself so excited, because then you realize when these things are hitting, and you've got your point of interest marked up, you can then start seeing your ability and being able to identify these areas. And like I see it in the Discord channel I work heavily upon working on confidence. This certainly does build your confidence, because you're identifying structure, you're identifying your point of interest. When you see these mitigating into these areas, your confidence certainly comes into play, certainly gets boosted. And then from there, your consistency level, because your confidence is there, starts to build as well. And it looks like we're getting that push from the actual order block area. Again, when you think about it, that there has been a break of structure, okay, because we've come out of play here. Now, I'm not going to take this as a trade, but what you could do is you could say, right, we're coming into play on here. It's nesting within a nest. Just make this black or gray. We could get, in essence, a push up to push down into this area to then take off. Okay, let's just see if this order block comes into play, or if we're just going to get the drive down. It's hovering at the moment. You see this here, how this was a break of structure. This in itself, that order block there, it's 50%. That order block there is being mitigated at the moment within the harmonic pattern. So again, I'm in depth, analyze, mark these areas up, get to know your movement, get to know your price action, get to understand the pair that you're following, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, doing things like this is just giving you a more deeper sort of understanding on why price is moving to these areas. Again, we've got that break of structure. We'll come to play off the order block as it's retraced back in. Will we get the push down? I'll be very surprised if the market is going to make the play off this order block rather than coming down into this area, simply because there's so much confluence with regards to touching into this area of the 50%. But what we'll do is, again, I hope you're getting a bit more of a deeper analysis of what I'm doing and how I'm preparing for this price action. And I will pause the video. We will come back in the next few minutes. All right, so we start to get a move, and again, order block on the high side on the harmonic. It's coming to mitigate the 50%. Again, guys, I don't make the stuff up. I don't move stuff. You can see, touched right in. Fantastic. Hopefully, I'm going to get this drive down to get the move to the higher side. Again, if we don't, it's nothing's lost at the end of the day. It's just another good lesson on analysis, on waiting, and it's imperative that this bit is adhered to. You let price come to where your bias is. Okay, if price is not going to show its hand to what you think your bias has been drawn out to, you just simply wait for it to completely break the structure points of those, and then you reassess and reanalyze. Okay, at the moment it's playing out okay. We're back within that higher range. Okay, we've come to break the structure of the higher high and the lower high. Okay, when we look at this is what we wanted to do. This is a lower high. Okay, this would be a lower high here, because now a lower low, sorry, let's get this correct. This would be a lower low because we broke the structure of this. Okay, this here is just a high point. This at the moment is holding structure as a lower high because it has not attained the high side liquidity at the moment. So if this holds structure and then we get the push down, we could be anticipating that part then becoming the new lower low, bang, our entry in, and then we will get the push out. What we need at the moment is this area here. This at the moment needs to hold structure. It's imperative that this holds structure. If it holds structure, then we've got every chance of this here becoming that lower low, if that makes sense. And I hope the way I sort of draw these out, put them in the charts, you start to have, like I say, these light bulb moments. I try to be as not too analytical, but I try to be able to be as visual as I can to help you guys understand structure. Let's just see. Again, swing point. Just like waves, Elliott waves, they all hold significance. So you've got lows, highs, lower highs, higher highs, lower highs, higher highs. Liquidity. On the reversal, you will have lower lows, lower highs, because we haven't taken out the top side liquidity, lower lows, lower highs, until then what basically happens on the reversal downtrend, we start taking out liquidity here, liquidity here, liquidity here, liquidity whatever's on the higher lows. And it's just a domino effect. It just takes each of the price levels out, if that makes sense. Now, I want to pause the video, see what happens. My analysis at the moment still holding. If I'm honest with you, I think we're going to get a drive out and push out of this area. If we do, what could possibly happen then is, if it does break out, there's a break, retest of that area there, which was from a previous sort of swing point, and then you might get the drive up. Okay, so again, let's just see what happens. Hopefully this will hold structure. We just get rid of this, and we can get rid of this. We'll see which one it's going to give us. Is it going to give us that lower low, or is it going to push out and give a higher high? Let's just see what happens, guys, in the next 10 minutes or so. Well, we've got a little bit of a cause for concern here. You've got this order block here. Okay, it's mitigated through into this order block. It looks like it may push out of there. If it does, the next area of importance is this higher high. It may crash out of that. From there, again, this is still holding structure at the moment. It's still a valid area of an entry and things like that. But if we do get the push out of here, we'll be looking at another area of trading, to be fair. Again, the initial thought was this was the area that we were going to enter in from. If I'm honest with you, in hindsight, we would have more or less had the entry based upon that. That would have been the stop just below that. The target would have been the break of structure on the high side. If this pushes up to here, that would have been a 1 to 5.06. It's not quite there at the moment. Again, I wouldn't have possibly have risked 2% on that part anyway. 2% still on this one. I would have only possibly risked 1% on that, to be fair, but still it would have been a 5% gain if it does come out. But that's in hindsight. We did mark this up anyway as an area of importance. And as you can see, it has mitigated to where we thought it was going to. Again, prices within its range. We are just waiting for either the top side or bottom side. We want this one. We want this one. If we get this, there's a good risk to reward at 2.28. That's going to be around about just over 4.5%, because we are going to risk a 2% on it. Again, we need price to start crashing down into that. From there, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get rid of that bit there, because we've already mitigated into this off before. This imbalance here was this here. We've mitigated into that. You see where the imbalance is here. We've come in and we've came into play into the imbalance of that. So now we can get rid of that. This path was what we were expecting for a line of play. Okay, coming down. As we were coming down into this area here, we were anticipating possible a reversal from there, but overall I was wanting the imbalance to be met here. So I knew that price was going to come down, possibly pull back a little bit based upon this order block, but I wasn't anticipating the move instantly coming from here. So we've missed a 5% on that. Not worried one bit. Still, at this time, keeping the healthy mindset, we are 23.84% in profit for the month, which is fantastic. We just wait for this pullback, this to hold structure, this to end it, and then the bigger move. And then we can manage the trade from there. So I'm just going to pull this out because I do believe that this trade is going to be the one that's going to play out for most of this morning. If the trade does not enter before 10:30, for video purposes and documentation, I don't manage the trade after that time frame. Generally, a rule of thumb for myself, I possibly will be keeping an eye on it for throughout the day and having a limit order set. However, for the purpose of the documentation, the Excel sheet, and the videos that I do, I will only document what happens within that 2-hour time frame, if that makes sense. Now we are getting the drive up and the push up to come here. We have taken out that higher liquidity for sure with a wick. Okay, so there's a break of structure there. And with this could be the next sort of high point. Check it out. It might go out and take that there. Again, this just factors in this area, just seeing that it's obviously broke that structure. It's come down and retested and it's got out. That's a 5% miss now, so it's not a worry. It's touched up beautifully. Again, that long position, that would have been our Henry. Stop would have just been around about there, the high point there. Let's take a look. Yeah, that's a 6.64 to be fair. Not to worry, we're driving up now. So that still stays in play. We've had a break of structure. Let's get rid of some of the noise. Let's move on to the next. Got to create a new higher high, as we can see. So I'm going to take the block from there, waiting for the pullback. We'll do a 1% on this one, guys. Let's get rid of some more of the noise. This is just going to be a 1% risk. This here is going to be 2% risk. That comes to play. I'm going to risk 1% on that. % risk because we've had to break the structure. Let's just see if we can get the simple play, to be fair. Come in, retest. Just see if we can get that. Again, we've got 10 seconds left to play. We might get an extra push drive. That's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At the moment, that is the pullback area. Because now what's happened is we're coming down. We've now got a new high point. We've now got a new high point on here. Because that's liquidity, that area there. Just going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. Coming towards the end of the session now, to be fair, 25 minutes left. Let's just see if anything's going to cause any complications with regards to things like imbalance and other stuff. So on the downside, we've got imbalance here. So we might get a drive down into the imbalanced area there, which could cause issues. But risk it. We might as well go for a 1% risk to gain a couple of percent, to be fair, about 3% or so. Because overall, the bigger picture, we are in that uptrend, you see. We are on a bit of an uptrend, to be fair. We're just trying to catch price as it's sort of breaking structure, making these lower lows to lower highs. And again, when you look at this, there's an order block there. It's coming down. We're doing the entry from that there. It's 50% of that pullback as well, if you look. So again, some more confluence there. Let's just see if we'll get that entry. I'll pause the video. We'll come back in a second or two, see where we are, and have an end of session conclusion as well. I'll be back in a second, guys. Hi, guys. We are into the final minute of today's session. The 1% risk on where we broke structure here. It's coming down to entry. However, we are about just over 1 pip off the entry. Let's say we get the entry before 1/2 past. Possibly may come down to hit the entry. Again, if it hits the 1/2 and it hasn't ended, then I stop the trade for visual purposes. But we will possibly look back tomorrow on how these areas have been mitigated and things like that. So it's now 1/2 past. The trading has ceased for today. So again, in hindsight, I'm just going to get rid of that pattern there. We were anticipating the move down to come into the mitigation of this. Okay. And what I mean by the mitigation, we were looking at, on a higher time frame, this was an order block. As we go down into the lower time frame, and the 15-minute order block goes into 1 minute, where you get a lot more candles in there, this then became an imbalance area. On the higher side, we were going to think about the anticipation of this area being hit first, but there was so much going on the lower side that I did not enter on this. Looking back on the analysis on the structure and what we've played out on here, this on the higher side was the correct entry at the time. We possibly would have hit around about 6% on the entry on a risk to reward. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. We were going to risk 2% on this. Not to worry, we're still 23.84% in profit. But looking at where we are at the moment, okay, we've got, based upon the high side on here, we're having a retest coming down into that order block. It's bouncing down nicely onto that. It's roundabout on the entry at the moment. It's around about a pip or a pipette away. Unfortunately, we've gone past our 10 area at the moment. It's just entered there now, and then it's starting to take off again. That trade will not count. It is past our time frame and our parameters. So we will have a look at this later on tomorrow to see what happens. Again, whatever happens after 10:30 happens, it does not count for our totals. So what we will do is minimize, go to our charts, maximize that out, and we'll just put on here growth. No trades taken a day. Tomorrow is the 5th. And then watch out for later on this afternoon. simply because we will be doing the New York session. Based upon the 5 minutes, and we risk 2% on each of these. Okay, so last week we were at before this had started, it's the 4th today, isn't it? I do believe. Yeah, so last week on the 5-minute scalper, I showed you before this trading had started, if we'd started where I was going to originally start, we would have had a 10.66 growth. But to keep true and not hide behind anything, we took the trade after that, and it was a -2. Again, this is for documentation. This is for a visual aid. This is to see what will work from a higher time frame aspect using that scalper method. We can clearly see on this here, it's working really well to some great profits. Again, having this as a profit for throughout a month is absolutely fantastic. Going into week 4, we are sort of looking at possibly risking 2% because we have got a nice pot there to risk from. 1, 2, and 3, we are going to be risking 1%, although the back end of last week we were risking 2% on a trade. One of them lost, we got that 2% back. This is all about being analytical, being able to draw out your charts, being able to be visual, practice drawing out the structure, and then this gives you a visual aid. You don't need indicators, you don't need softwares to tell you. This is to get your confidence and your consistency and your ability to be able to identify these areas. It's the whole point of why I built this community of Forex Fire members. We do this on a day-to-day basis in there. I just put my session on what I do, structured on that 2-hour time frame, 2-hour time slot allowance to see what happens from my aspect. From there, these get uploaded to the YouTube, as you can see. If you want to know more on what we do, in the description below, you'll see the links in there. There's stuff there for the My Forex funds to possibly, if you want to go for the funded sort of stuff. Again, there'll be links there for my Facebook page, a link on there to be able to get access to the Discord where you can become a Spark or a Fire member. And on top of that, guys, you get full-on support, not just from myself. There are some great moderators in there, and everybody, and I mean everybody, up to nearly 400 members in there. They are all in there helping each other. Okay, we don't hide behind anything. We're very upfront and honest. You get a lot of honesty, integrity, and value within that group. So if you want to know more, just click on the links below, and this will be going out to the Discord community later on this afternoon as well. Okay, so been a good session today. I've enjoyed doing the analytics of it all. As always, I get so much out of this because overall, looking back on things, it's helping me identify structure. You've seen from the beginning to the middle, you've seen the bias in the direction I was looking for. You've seen these areas being mitigated. This just, again, elevates my confidence. It also brings the consistency of me having that knowledge and the ability of being able to predict where price can move to. Again, we have a 2-directional bias to start with. We then, as price starts coming into that range, we can then factor in the possibilities of where liquidity can break or retest from. And unfortunately, we didn't get it down to the downside today. We should have went for the higher side order block, but there's so much going down underneath this sort of imbalance where it mitigated from. In conclusion, again, you would have had your entry there. Let's take a look. You would have had your entry on the 50%, or even on the open. Okay, we'll do it from the open. That would have been your stop loss. The higher high sort of thing. It's a 7.8 in total. However, we would have been targeting here around about 6.27. Again, if we'd risked 2% on that area, albeit I possibly wouldn't have, in all honesty, you could have possibly get about 13% on that. But if I was to risk that, I would have went with 1%, to be fair, simply because too much going on down here. My name's been John. I hope you found today's session very good, and the outlook on everything. If this is the first time you're watching this video, I would recommend and highly recommend, if you're going to follow along and do this sort of stuff, when you're watching my videos, bring a notepad, bring a pen, write down the little things that you're hearing, and then timestamp it. Okay, so this is the end of day conclusion with this. If you're enjoying the content, if you're seeing value in what I do, bring a notepad, bring a pen. If you hear something that you're not quite familiar with, take a note of the name of whatever it is I speak about, drop a comment, let me know if you need help with it. From there, timestamp it. You can pause a video at any time, timestamp it, make a note of where you heard this or something that's give you a light bulb moment. So what you've got is a notepad, and then you can see at today's session, the 4th of October, you've got your notes wrote down for today's session. You've got things timestamped where something like liquidity, you've heard liquidity being mentioned and what I spoke about. Write that down, write down the timestamp where you heard that, highlight it. So when you want to go back on these sort of sessions as a session to sort of regurgitate the lesson as such, to rewatch the stuff, to go over it, you'll have your notes that has been important to you, that's given you that light bulb moment, a ha-ha moment, and you can click back onto that time stamp that you put, and you can listen back on that again, because again, watching these things back, redoing it, rewatching it will bring more sort of information soaked in. It's a bit like when you watch a film for the first time. You watch a film, your brain's taking in so much information. When you watch it again, because you get to those certain points of interest in those segments where you've taken in that knowledge, your mind sort of knows what's happening at that particular time and moment. When you rewatch it again, you then start to take in more information from other areas that you maybe did not take notice of the first time around. So then you are learning more. And it's the same as when you're being educated, when you're going through any sort of training or anything else. When you first get trained upon structure and you look at things, your brain will take in so much information, it registers that, it keeps it in the back of your mind. When you rewatch things again, like anything like on this video, because you've understood higher highs or higher lows, when we get to those points, your brain sort of switches off a little bit, but then it starts taking in information from other areas within other things from structure that I'm talking about, and then you'll possibly get that light bulb moment again. So these are always worth rewatching. Okay, guys, so that's the little bit of a top tip for the day. Take notes, bring a notepad and pen, bring a highlighter, timestamp things that is giving you that extra bit of light bulb or aha moment. Pause the video, take note of the time. I've learned about high-low structure. Have that highlighted, so when you go back on your notes and you come back to watch the stuff that I do, you can then be able to identify. Let's fast forward to that timestamp. Let's rewatch where we are on that. I'd like to see a little bit more on that, see if I can take anything else away from it. So that's been the morning session for the 4th of October on the Euro USD, 23.84% at the moment. Before we switch off, let's just have a look at the share screen just to see what's happening with price at the moment. Again, it's went into profit. It's in a little bit of drawdown at the moment. It's hovering within that order block at the moment. So again, we weren't in this trade. It has ended, but it ended after our allotted time. Okay, guys. So again, hope you're enjoying all this stuff. Please comment below, hit the subscribe button so you become obviously a free member on here. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified once I upload anything. I'm going to be looking to be doing 2 videos a day, with maybe the odd 1 or 2 thrown in with regards to other extra tradings. From there, if you are getting value from what I do, and I hope and and sincerely hope that you are, you'll see it in your way to possibly support what I'm doing within this channel and hitting the join button, which should just be below here somewhere. From there, become a Spark or a Fire member and support what I do. And it just drives me to do even more, okay? And then from there, you'll have access to all of this stuff and even more. Okay, guys, I'll see you on the next one. My name's been John, Mr. Forex Fire. Catch you later.